Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rave Social Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden, and today we have Cass. Cass is incredible. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be a blast.
It is. It's my first time recording in person with someone.
Same.
So I'm like, oh, what's going on?
It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
But also thrilling.
I know it's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
But just a little info on Cass. She's awesome. She's also a social media manager. We met through the gram. And now I love her, and she's my bestie.
And I love you, and you're my bestie.
And we work together on a couple accounts, and she's just freaking the best there is. So today we're going to talk about something really scary, and that is social media management is dead. And yes, that title is a little clickbaity, but it's true. There's been some big changes in the social media world, and we're just going to address them and help you figure out what kind or what level of social media management is the best for you. So,
great.
Let's do it.
We're going to help you find inner peace and happiness with your social media.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Jaden's like, I wish I didn't invite you here.
Not at all. Okay, so first let's chat about what's maybe one of the major changes or shifts you've seen on social media recently, as far as social media management goes. What is changing?
Okay, can I give a quick disclaimer?
Yeah.
Great. Number one, I'm feeling a little bit fiery today, for real. And also, one thing about me is I've been on a handful of podcasts at this point, and I've never listened to a single one afterwards. And so if I say something kooky, I will never know. So just that. And then also I just feel like I gotta say, with any of this stuff, it's choose your own adventure. We're gonna say what we're gonna say from a place of a lot of experience.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think what really gets me revved up is what you're gonna learn the most doing is just going out there and doing it. So listen to this podcast. Don't let it get you riled up or think you're doing something wrong, and then just go out there and start practicing and doing something, and then you'll learn that way.
Yeah, and I think with everything there's just always going to be nuance. So we may say this is how it is, and you may be my experience is different from that, and that's totally fine.
And that's fine.
It's just nuance. And I think what is happening with social media is that there was a phase that we went through where social media management could be as simple as someone just posting some graphics for you every few days, and that literally did work. I did it for clients and it worked and it got results. But now I think the industry, everyone's industries, doesn't matter if you're a photographer, a social media manager, whatever you are, it's saturated. And what is differentiating people is a personal brand. And your personal brand, it's really hard for someone to just make and post graphics for you and have that work.
Right.
You know?
Totally. I was thinking today, who was my first client and when that was. 2015.
Oh my God.
Yeah, in Australia, I took over this yoga studio's social media. And I did it in exchange for a free pass to the studio. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I remember thinking, I can make some improvements to whatever's going on here. Yeah. So I'm just going to go for it. It'll be good either way. And yeah, it literally was I remember my thought at the time was, this needs to be prettier. This isn't aesthetic, and these people don't realize that, but I understand that, and I have an eye for that. So I'm just going to help them make this feed prettier. And that was first stop number one. I've got to
make the grid look pretty.
Right. I was I got to make this look prettier. And once I've done that, we'll go from there. Yeah. And I remember being proud a few weeks into it with I would scroll down and be this is what it looked like. And this is what it looked like now.
Yes.
And I was wow,
so happy.
I've made it.
Yes.
I'm really gifted at this.
And you were.
Thank you.
That's killing me. But yeah, you're exactly right. It was aesthetics. It was just, I want someone to land on my Instagram page and all the colors are cohesive and every photo was light, dark, or like
Right.
that kind of a vibe. And I was always like jealous of accounts when I would go to them and they would look like that because that is so not me. Like, I am not aesthetic. Like, you should see my literal office right now. I don't have that naturally. So
Okay, first off, that's not true, but
I like,
okay.
I don't know. I don't have that, at least for myself. Like, oh my God, for my clients, I can do it. But for myself, like, I just struggled so hard with that. So I'd be jealous of it. And now I see people like their main way that they're selling themselves on Instagram, especially social media managers, is showing those. Like, this was the grid before, this is the grid after. And I'm like, that literally, like, it doesn't matter. It's so sad, but it's true. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right. And it matters to some people, and there's someone for everyone, but
Yeah.
it's like, so it's not that like those people aren't going to get clients, but
Yeah.
it's just that like in the grand scheme of things, if you really are trying to grow a community and you're
Yeah.
trying to really like stick with people as they're consuming so much social media,
Yeah.
a pretty grid usually isn't going to do it for you anymore.
No.
And especially with sales, like
Yeah.
if you're wanting your social media to like push you in the direction of more sales, it's not necessarily a sales channel anymore, but if you want that, the pretty graphics typically aren't going to do a whole lot.
No. I think like what I tell my clients is like when they like a grid, it's important to a degree. Like I said, you don't want like mismatched text. You want your brand to be there. But it's not the top priority anymore because really people are only going to see your grid the very first time that they click on your profile. Like, and then never again.
Yeah,
So it's just not like that big of a deal.
right.
And like you said too, it's like it depends on what you want out of social media. Like if you just want to be that pretty grid, that's fine. But if you're wanting like the deeper results, like a strong community, a strong personal brand, like sales, all of that, I just wouldn't waste your energy. Like I wouldn't spend energy curating that.
Right. It's not like, oh, like let's just forego things
Yeah.
looking pretty and
Yeah.
nice because of course like you want this like brand awareness. That's something that I just talked to one of my clients about
Yeah.
because the content was good, but it was like you said, like mismatched text, like various colors that like didn't
Yeah.
match their website or match these other parts of their brand, like their brick and mortar space and stuff like that. So, like, of course, that was a conversation that we
Yeah.
had because you still want people, like you said, to scroll and know, like, oh, that's this account as they're
Yeah.
scrolling. But it's like not the top priority because also you want to find new people. That's everyone's goal,
Yeah.
right? Like, I want to find new people, I want to find new followers. And if you're just prioritizing something looking pretty, that's usually not going to do it.
No, it's just there's too much to consume that something being pretty by itself is not going to get you where you want to go,
Right.
you
It's
know?
not gonna it might yeah, it's not necessarily gonna push you in the direction of like growing your audience or getting new
Yeah.
followers because as they're scrolling and you have I forget what it is, 0.0001 second
Literally
to like
no seconds.
right, 0 seconds, you have negative seconds to like hook somebody. Like what's gonna hook somebody is like a hook.
Yeah, like a text hook or
Yeah,
like a visual hook, not in like a pretty graphic kind of a way, but like what are you moving? Like, is your body moving? Is your head moving? Like, are your hands moving? That
right,
kind of stuff is more like a hook
right,
than just like a pretty like landscape
right.
background.
Right. Do you
Yeah.
have like a crazy facial expression? Are
Yeah,
you like doing something interesting that people are like, "Whoa, what are they doing?"
exactly.
Yeah, those kinds of things for sure. Are you telling a story?
Mm,
Like that kind of
yeah, like
stuff.
how are you engaging with people? Which that also brings me to like back a little bit to like social media management, like that community building and the personal brand has to come through some way. And if you're completely outsourcing everything and like you're not hands-on whatsoever with your content, you're just sending it through a social media manager and like you barely even review it, that content is just like it doesn't matter how good the social media manager is, it's not going to land with your audience simply because like your energy and your voice never got like put into it. Like I try to learn my clients' voices and I change the way I talk depending on what client it is, but at the end of the day, like I really need them to go review it, and be like, oh, I would never say obsessed. I'm going to take that word out, because
Right.
it's those little things that like your audience is used to. And yeah, like if you just completely are hands off with it, like they can feel that energy of like, you're not actually there anymore. It's just someone
Right.
else doing it for you.
Totally. Like it needs to. Yes, this is perfect because this title, like social media management is dead, which by the way, let's just say like SMM because that's
Yeah.
like a lot of,
Yeah. So many words.
yeah, it's a lot happening. But like, yeah, it's clickbait. And also, like, it's not to say that like social media management, SMM, is not still valuable because it is still
Exactly.
highly valuable, but in a different way. And it's like,
It's just
yeah,
shifted.
right, it's shifted a lot. You can't fully just remove yourself from the process
Yeah.
anymore if you want the best results.
Exactly.
And
That's the
so,
nuance, is it's like, okay, well, if you don't care about the community, the personal brand, the whatever, like just being completely hands off and hiring a social media manager is gonna work for you. But I just like, I don't feel like that's who's listening to this podcast or like who follows you and I feel
right,
like those people are people who are like, no, I'm like hungry for growth. Like I want the community, I want the personal brand for whatever reasons. And in that case, like I think social media managers should be prepared to tell people, like those types of clients, that like being hands off isn't going to work. Like you just have to be honest about it almost, you know?
right,
And then I think that people who are looking to hire a social media manager or social media help should be like open to the idea that like they're not just going to, that it's not going to be taken off your plate completely.
right,
Yes, it's going to be taken off your plate significantly,
for sure.
and you're going to get better results because you're dealing with
Right,
someone who's like an expert and a strategist and knows what's going on.
right,
But if you just sit back, like those results won't be what you want them to be.
right. It's like 100% more of a team effort now,
Yeah.
for sure.
Which I love
And
anyways.
right, I think
I
it's
don't
so
like
fun.
working in a vacuum.
No, I don't either. And I'm like, I need, yeah, this like dialogue to like
Yeah.
just make things better. And yeah, there's just like these little nuanced things that your followers pick up on. And for example, I had this client and I've worked with her for a long time and I'm obsessed with her. But I was calling her followers, what was I saying? I think I was calling them dogs because this is like DAWG, because that's just something that I'd swear I've heard her say before, and that's very like her personality to like be calling people that. And so I was like using that verbiage
Yeah.
in her content, and then one day like months into that, she was like, "Hey, I actually don't use the word dogs." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, are you serious?" And so she was
Are
like,
you serious?
yeah, I was like, "Oh, like, what should I be calling them instead?" She's like, "You can say like pals." I'm like, "Okay, so now that's how I refer to them, is like pals." But it's just so funny because it's these like little detailed things, and that's why, you have a social media manager that knows what they're doing, with all these other pieces. They know the management, they know social media like tips and tricks, they know how to make things perform well,
Yeah.
they
Or like
know
how to
how
say
to,
it, how,
right, they
how
know
to
how to
write a good
say it,
hook.
yes, they know how to like market your offer, tell your story, etc. But you're the other part of that equation, and
Yeah.
without you, we don't know what word you're calling people. We don't know that
Yeah.
you're calling people pals instead of dogs. And I would say like doggies, like,
She's got
what's up,
that
my
dog in her.
doggies? So anyway, there's just like little things like that you don't know. And especially with personal brands, this is important. And even product-based brands, like other kinds of brands, I think every brand, this is like just my hot take, I think every brand should be personifying no matter what.
Oh, 100%. Like I was saying, every industry is so saturated, and you can look at that and be like, "Oh, I'm never going to be successful. Like it's so saturated." Or you can look at that and be like, "What differentiates me?" And in a lot of industries, there's not a big huge differentiation.
Right.
Let's be so honest. There's
Yeah.
not. It's like I do the same thing, like I have the same deliverables,
Right.
but I am different. My personality is what makes me different, and like you want people to work with you because of your personality, because
Right.
those are the kind of people that like aren't going to be aren't going to fire you if you get in an accident and need to take a couple days off. Like
Right.
those are the people who are going to understand and genuinely care about you and want to be your client. Whereas if you're not personified, like, what even are you? I feel like it makes you like not human. And then they're just
Right.
like, you're just a business.
Right.
And they're going to treat you just like a business,
Right. Yeah.
not like a person.
Right. If you're like personifying your brand, which means that like you're showing up with your personality and your mannerisms and the
Yeah.
words that you use and the energy that you have when you're engaging and working with clients, then like you're going to get the clients that are meant for you, and it will just make everything so much easier. So,
And it's
or
like the easiest way to differentiate yourself. Like being yourself
right.
is the easiest way to be different.
So it
'Cause
turns out that that's the key to life. Be yourself.
be yourself. Who would have known?
Who would have known?
It's true. Okay, then I have this question for you. What
Okay.
do you feel like is making brands impersonal? Because I feel like some brands are trying to be personal, but they're not quite hitting it, and it's making it actually like a little bit more impersonal. For me, I feel like it's ManyChat.
Okay.
I feel like ManyChat is kind of making like people will be so personal until they grow like a certain level of following, and then they start using like ManyChat because they can't manage the comments or whatever it is, and then like they take an exit to impersonal town. I don't know.
Honestly, I know what you mean. I feel like yeah, it makes it feel like you're a robot, and it's not to say that it can't be a helpful tool at times.
Totally.
I think there are instances where it really makes sense. There are a few Amazon influencer girlies that I
Oh
follow, and
yeah.
like comment the word pants if you want
Yeah,
this
because they're
link.
not going to be able to respond to
Right.
everyone saying what
10,000 people
yeah,
saying
where are
they
your
want
pants from?
right.
Like, that's when I feel like that makes sense, and
Right.
actually, to me, that feels personal.
Yeah.
It's more so, like, I don't know, and straight up, this could just be me, like, I don't know, but I feel like it's more so when people are like, "Get my freebie," like, "Comment this to get my freebie," because I'm like, the freebie, like, is maybe it is a really valuable freebie, but, like, oh, shoot, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. It's because it feels like you're sneaky. I don't really know what I'm trying to
I know what you mean.
say. Okay.
Honestly,
It
I
just
don't I
seems like disjointed. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, I know what you mean, but, like, what else because I'm sure that this is gonna unlock some thoughts for me,
Yeah.
but what else do you think makes
Something
somebody
impersonal.
right?
Hmm. I think like when there's not a good balance of like new things versus like what you know works on your page. And what I mean by this is like you always like there on every account you're gonna like start to figure out like, oh, this message works, and it can be so easy to be like, okay, I'm just gonna like repeat that message a million times, and also please do that, but then also like send us like give us a reel of just like your life. Like we don't it doesn't need to always be
Yeah.
like salesy or business related. I don't think.
No, 100%, I agree with you. I think, it's really easy for somebody to say they have, like, a reel perform really well,
Yeah.
and, I don't know, it's a reel of them doing a day in the life,
Yeah.
going to the farmer's market, for example.
I was
That's
gonna
a
say the rodeo, but the
the
farmer's market's
rodeo.
also fun.
Okay, well, who's going to a rodeo every day? I
Yeah.
guess there are people, but it's not me. It's not me. But, I
I
have
wish
been
it was
listening to Dixie
me.
Chicks, though, and honestly, it's such a vibe. Cowboy Take Me Away, you
No, it's
know?
so good.
Anyway, but yeah, so say, like, you're doing a day in the life going to the farmer's market, and it just really pops off, and, like, it performs really well, there's a lot of views, etcetera. And so after that, you're like, "Well, I've never had content perform that well before. I'm gonna make a trillion videos
Yeah.
of me going to the farmer's market." And
Yeah.
I could do that because I go every week.
Yeah.
In fact, there may be one coming. Stay tuned.
Woo!
Stay tuned. Big news. But like, so then you're just like, "Oh, I'm just going to like rinse and repeat this exact same thing." And I think you're so right. It really starts to come across like there's not life like behind
Yeah,
the
like,
the
we
brand.
all know there's more to you than
Right.
that.
We know that there's more to you than that. We
Yeah.
know that there's like all these other parts to you, say millions of other parts to you that
Yeah.
like we're not getting because we're only getting the farmers market hot takes.
Yeah.
So like
So, like, do your farmer's market videos, but then also do, like, another thing is how
right.
I feel. I'm like, don't stop
Right.
and, like, just because something feels repetitive to you doesn't mean it feels repetitive to your audience. So I keep that in
Totally.
mind too. But like, feel free to do that repetitive content that you know works, that performs well, whatever. But then like, give us some other stuff too.
Totally. Like, and even things that you know aren't going to perform well.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say like just things that you're like, this may not perform as well, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, I know this kind of content really pops off. I don't know if this thing will. Or, you know what, I've tried this other piece of content before and it doesn't pop off as much.
Yeah.
That's okay. It can serve another purpose besides just performance.
It's so real and so important. I like literally love that you said that because content has so many different purposes besides just like performance.
Right.
And like, I feel like we tell people all the time, like, you know, your views don't matter, likes don't equal sales, engagement doesn't equal sales, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that is true. It is true. Like, you're gonna have some content that gets 0 comments, but that's the content that people actually see and are like, oh,
Right.
she's now at the top of my list for social media manager. Like, you don't know that your audience is doing that behind the scenes
Totally.
and they're not leaving a comment. Like,
Right. Like I had an offer, I did a close friends group and I had a couple reels perform really well.
yeah,
And it performed really well in the exact audience that I would think would want to join my close friends group.
yeah,
Like, exactly. And I did not get a single person that like bought into that offer from those reels. In fact, like the
what?
people that ended up being in those in that group are people that have just known me for a period of time.
Yeah, they
They've
have that
grown to have,
trust.
yes, they've grown to have a level of trust in my content and my point of view. And so those are the people that ended up there. It's not like these other people that just I had some things perform really well and in the right space, but
Yeah,
it doesn't always convert, which
yeah,
is why like you shouldn't always just be like obsessed
with
with your stuff
views.
going viral. Because if you are, I will murder you. Just kidding. I'm gonna black out and not remember I said that. And then later I'll be like,
I will murder you.
I will murder you.
No, but it is true. And I get it because I had a couple of reels go viral like all around the same time. And then it's really difficult to be like, I want that high again. Like it literally is addicting. And you're like, I want to go viral again. It's so fun to go viral. But same thing, like the people I've converted are not people that I really gained during that time. Because what you also have to remember is that, yeah, you might go viral and double or triple your followers in a week, but then congratulations, you have a big, huge task. You have to nurture those people
Right.
for months.
Right.
Like, you have to nurture them for a long time
Right.
before they're going to become
Which
your
is great. You have
client.
the opportunity, but yeah, it's not like it's just
It doesn't just end there
right.
in the number, in the follow, you
Right.
know? It's like there's a big process that comes
Right.
after that.
Totally. But anyway, I've just taken us down like a huge rabbit hole.
That's okay.
And our original topic
What?
is what?
It like did a thumbs up. Did you see that?
No.
Okay.
Oh. Why does it do that?
I don't know, but
I don't know.
it also
But
put on your face, which is weird.
yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think like the reason why this podcast episode came to be
Yeah.
is that I was listening to a piece of content where an agency was basically saying that social media managers should be more open and willing to take part in these other like pieces of marketing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it really bothered me because it I hope this is in the podcast.
Oh,
It really bothered me. It chapped me right up because I was so chapped by it because I just if we go back to our initial conversation of where social media management began, it was literally just I need to post to this page 2-3 times a week and it needs to be a pretty graphic and I need to make the feed look aesthetic. Beautiful. And yeah, and that's kind of the goal. Maybe I'll pop some details about the offers in the captions. Crazy. And so if you go back to that, it's like, sure, at that point in time, social media managers would have had more time and space to like take on some of these other roles a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's so simple.
Yeah. But because of how it's grown, I mean, I remember when reels were first like a thing, and I
Yeah.
remember thinking like, "Oh my gosh, how am I going to manage these accounts now that I have to do video?" Like I
Yeah. Like,
remember just being like,
and you were right because video does take longer to
right, and I was like,
edit.
"Oh my gosh, I'm going to die." I was like panicking and like just also accepting like, "No, this is a thing.
Yeah.
And it's here and it's not going away, and so I need to like figure it out."
Yeah.
But even that transition alone from photo to video was huge.
Huge.
If I have to like when I edit a reel, that can take me forever. Depending on the type of content, it can take me like honestly 45 minutes, depending on how complex the content is.
And like, how many times have you created a reel for a client and then gone to like post it and you're like, I hate it. I need to start from
Oh
zero.
my
And you're
gosh.
going to start from zero because
Right.
you need to make sure your client has the best content.
Right. Like, so there are times, and like, this is kind of embarrassing to admit because actually, you know what? It's not. I feel like we get in this headspace of like everything needs to be efficient and like it's taking me too long, so I must be doing it wrong. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that's not
No.
true. Sometimes it just takes you a long time because it just takes a long time.
This is a side tangent, but like, we are, who are we pretending that social media management is not the most creative job? Like, it is, oh, photo, video, copywriting, anything that has to do with technology, human psychology, sales, like
Human psychology, that's a
it
huge
is so
piece.
many things that we're managing, and all of those are really creative processes. They're not numbers, they're not logical, they're not in a
Right.
spreadsheet.
Right.
And like, that's what's crazy to me is we it doesn't feel like we recognize that because you would never like rush a painter to
Right.
finish painting their painting. Like,
That's so
you would
true.
never do that, but we rush ourselves constantly, and somehow we're trying to make like creativity and efficiency like
The
the
same
same
thing.
thing, but like they're just not. They're
Right.
just not.
Right. And so, yeah, like, of course, you've got to do things in a timely manner so that your clients get the stuff that they need and the posts go up when they need to go up. At the
Exactly.
same time, sometimes it just takes way longer than you think it's going to. And there have been
Mhm.
so many times that I upload something to Instagram and it's blurry. The text magically gets removed.
Like, what?
The audio randomly
Like,
sounds
doesn't
like
work.
shit. And I'm like, what is happening? And so, yeah, you go back to the drawing board and you start the entire thing over again. And
Yep.
so, or you get a piece of content, and for some reason, it's Jaden and I had this big conversation a couple weeks ago because I was getting content that was super blurry.
And
So,
it's like, how do we fix it?
yeah, you're like, how do I fix it? How do I
Was it
work
the
with this?
source?
Like,
Like, what happens?
yeah, what's the settings on their camera? So it's such a big process. It really is. And so just like keeping that in mind that sometimes it just takes a while because it just takes a while and that's just that.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is like it used to be much easier and much faster. Since then, we've taken on this like huge role of all these other pieces that you just
Mhm.
mentioned. And not only that, but we're working with video most of the time now. And
Yeah.
so because of that, it's a much more time consuming process and I have a blast doing it, but it does take a long time
Yes.
to create good content that you're proud of, that you know
Yeah.
is going to do the best that it possibly can do. And
Mhm.
so it's a time consuming process. And then not only that, but as you mentioned before, there are more people on social media than ever before. But not only that, there are more people on social media that have ever been there before,
So
and
true.
also more businesses using social media than have ever used social media before. Because
Mhm.
at this point in time, and if you're in this space, and you probably are because you're listening to this, it seems crazy to think that there are people just now who are starting to accept, like, okay, this is a part of running my business now.
Yeah.
I do need to accept it, and I either need to find some kind of help or I need to learn it.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality. It's a huge change in society. And so, of course, there are going to be people that are like, I really don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And finally, I'm noticing like people that have resisted it for a long time. I mean, like my dad, he will listen to this so I can say things about him, but he owns a business and been a business that my grandpa's had since I was tiny. And just now he's like, I probably should hire somebody to make my website not look like it's from the year 2000, and I should
I
probably
love it.
get an Instagram. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it won't be me. I don't work with family,
I work
but
with my dad.
Really? I would pass away. He's the best. I love him, but
I love my dad. He never gives me content. That's also why social media management is dead,
yes.
because if you're not working with brands who like straight up are going to give you the content you need,
Right.
you cannot do your job.
Right.
And honest, that's like one of the main reasons I switched my offers. Well, the first reason was I didn't feel like social media management was the cost, what I was charging and the results I was giving people didn't line up to me. And I was like, that's because I shouldn't be managing your account. You should be managing your
Right.
account. So
In a
that's,
way of like the results that you were giving them honestly slayed. And
well, they did slay, but
right.
not to like not to like, to them, they were like, this is great.
Right.
But to me, I was like, I know that there's a better way.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I shifted my offer that way. But it was also because like I, and this is probably my bad, was working with some brands that like would not give me content. Like
Yeah.
I would outline exactly what I needed. They would never get it to me. And then I would be like scrambling at the last second, like trying to use stock photo or video, or like at the last minute trying to like fix
Piece
it
something together.
because they
Yeah.
didn't give me what I needed. And I was like, that is traumatic. And I do not want to do that. That is not
Right.
fun for me at all.
Right. Yeah, that's a whole
That's my
thing too.
dad.
Yeah. Dads.
He might be listening to this.
Dads.
I know my mom does.
Right. But yeah, there's so many hi Jaden's mom. But
Damn.
there's so many like pieces. I don't even know where I was going with that. But yeah, there's so many people just now that are like, yeah, this is actually like accepting. This is important and I need to do it.
I feel like what we talked about this specifically, like what the agency was saying, was that like things have gotten so like niche. Like there's like a social media manager, a content creator, a videographer, a photographer, like a copywriter, a graphic designer,
Right.
instead of a social media manager, which
Right.
I kind of vibe with, but also takes a lot more collaboration and a
Right.
lot more time. Like
Right.
you have to be a business that's like really planning ahead and knows the next 3 to
Right.
6 months of your business to do,
Right.
to work with that many people.
Well, I think, yeah, the one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is that social media has shifted so much to the point where, like you're saying, there are so many like niche roles within what people perceive to be just social media management.
So true.
And so what social media managers are finding, at least what we're finding, is that in order to fulfill all those roles and do a good job at all those roles, which I think most social media managers are pretty well versed in many
Yeah,
of those things,
definitely.
especially if if you're experienced, you've like worn all those hats.
For sure.
So in order to like perform all those things well, and run a functioning business that supports you, your life, your goals, and not being like completely exhausted at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you have to charge high rates.
So
Because
high.
you think about all these different pieces that you're doing and how much time all of that takes. Just editing a video, like I said, can take me like 45 minutes, an hour. If I have to redo it, longer.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're doing all those things, your rates have got to be like boosted. Otherwise, you're exhausted. I mean, a few months ago, I was tapped out at like the most clients that I could take
Possibly
on.
do. Yeah.
And at that rate, looking at my income, my yearly income, I just thought to myself, like, I'm exhausted. I am not performing like I want to be
Like
performing
you
in my
wish.
job
Exactly.
because I
You're
cannot
spread so
handle
thin.
the workload that I have. I can't. And I am not only that, but like I am not making the kind of income that I have set out goals to make. And so it's just like and money's not everything, but money is your exchange for your time and energy that you're
It
giving. And you
totally.
want it to feel even, and
Yeah.
you want it to feel like this like this daily practice that you put in hours and hours of doing is like yielding the same return. And so that's how it's shifted in a lot of ways, because now
Yeah.
people are at a place where, like I said, the rates need to go up, which if you're a smaller business, that's really hard.
And like I think it's important to remember that like social media managers are period a luxury service. Like
Yes,
it is luxury to
it is.
have a social media manager. It's not just every business needs one and every business should have one. It's
Right.
like that's luxury. It takes an investment. It takes like an investment, I mean, in your time and your money if you want to go in that direction and grow your business that way.
Totally.
And yeah, rates have to go up. I mean, that's what I was noticing is that like the rate I would have to charge someone to give them like what they need to be successful
Right.
would have to be so high that I didn't feel like I would feel comfortable even charging it because I didn't want that level of stress. You know, if you're charging someone 10K a month, you have to deliver 10K a month results.
Right.
And I was like, that does not feel comfortable to me. But what I do know works is me, I can write your copy, I can do your outlines, I can fill it in, I can get you to 80%. And then you can do that other 20%. And the juice and the squeeze is going to line up. Like
Right.
what you're investing in and the results you're getting make sense. So, like, that's the shift that I made in my business, which there's obviously more than one way.
Right.
You could do that for your business and whatever feels good for you. But that's just what I noticed because I was like, I think people can you can raise your rates all you want, but like, are you okay with the level of stress that's going to give you?
And also, like, what kind of people do you want to work with? Because the kind of brands that I love to work with, and
Yeah.
I've found this through so much trial and error, is I love working with personal brands. I love working with smaller businesses. I love
Me
working with
too.
hairstylists, estheticians, like these people that run these like smaller businesses. I
But that are like successful smaller businesses. Like,
right.
yeah, I'm with you. Those are like
And
definitely my
so,
favorite
yeah,
too.
like that's so fun. And also, like, when you're working with businesses like that, typically the budget is a little bit lower. It
Yeah.
just makes sense. You don't have like a 20-person team and you're
Yeah.
selling a product that you sell, I don't know, that costs $100 and you sell 500 a day.
Yeah.
Like, that's just like, so that's where like this trade-off comes. And like you said, it is like a luxury.
Yeah.
And I just, that's where this like, this content that I was listening to from this agency suggesting that social media managers needed to be open to doing more really made me angry because what?
Yeah. I mean, that just like made me have this like big realization of like, okay, so you hire a graphic designer to do your branding for you. How long does that usually take? A
Yeah,
month, 4 to 6 weeks for them to turn that around.
right.
And not to say they're not doing amazing, they are doing amazing work, but like they're not delivering more than what a social media manager delivers in 5 social media posts in a week. Do
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
But yet we're turning that around like every week. We're
Right.
turning that around every week, which is great. Like, how could you take on
Yeah.
another job
Right. It's
when you're
crazy.
already doing 6
Right.
jobs?
Right.
Video, graphic design, copy, like
Totally.
you're already doing 6
Right.
jobs.
And this was the thing that I was listening to was suggesting that basically like the social media manager should be open to like taking on some like content creation pieces. They should be like open to taking on some marketing pieces. They should be open to like more back and forth communication. And it's just not feasible. It's just not sustainable, I will say. It's
Yeah.
doable for a short period of time and then you're really going to wear somebody out. And
And then you
so
really just need someone full time if that's what you want.
right,
Like,
which if you have the budget for that, that would be an amazing
perfect.
direction to take is to
Perfect.
take somebody on full time, give them a salary and benefits, and then you have somebody in your back pocket on a daily basis
Yeah.
that you can communicate with whenever you want
Mhm.
and they can do things on a whim for you.
Yeah.
If you are a social media manager and you work for yourself and
Yeah.
you do freelance and it's just you and maybe you outsource some other pieces, but
Yeah.
it's too hard to take on last minute requests. It's too hard to not have the things that you need ahead of time.
Unless you're going to like unless as a social media manager you're going to charge for every little thing like that, which I just
Gets
feel like would be
exhausting.
crazy cuz you'd be
Yeah.
like texting a client and be like, "Okay, that's like $150. That's $150." Like,
Like,
every 5 minutes,
no
like,
one wants to do that.
you'd be doing
Yeah, I
I
would
just
feel super uncomfortable. I'm
me
good.
too. I'm like,
So, yeah, I think that's why you're really smart transitioning your offer. I know that you're doing remind the people what it's called.
Instagram 888.
Okay, yes, I knew it was an angel number, but I didn't know which one.
That's the one.
But I think you're really smart to do that. And that's something that I'm experimenting too
Yeah.
with as well, which is just like giving somebody the pieces that they need up front at the start of a month. And then they can basically, it's like a plug and play.
Well, yeah, and, like, because also, like, for my clients, it takes them 15 to 30 minutes a day. Like, if they're posting daily, some of
Right.
them batch their content, and in that case, I don't know, add up 5 post times 30 minutes. That's probably how long it takes them
Yeah.
to batch it out. But it takes them, like, not very long every day, and they're involved in the process. It's their energy behind it. They're also learning, like, content creation, and, like,
Yeah.
they're like, there's a coaching piece to it where they're, like, learning what I do so
Yes.
that, like, eventually they could do
Right.
it
For
for
themselves.
themselves, which
Right.
is beautiful. Like,
Right.
I would love that. I would love them to, like, learn enough that then they feel excited and wanna take that on themselves. That's great.
Totally.
So,
That's what it
yeah.
is too. It's yeah, you're getting a plan and you can then go and know exactly what you need to post and the kind
Yeah.
of content, the kind of video or photo that you'll need to pair that with.
Yeah.
And then you're also getting, like you said, this like coaching piece of like, hey, like this is how, this thing performed well and this is probably why. With
Yeah.
this video, perhaps try editing it this way.
And, like, it's so much easier for you as the business owner, as the face of your personal brand, to go find that content that you need. So, like, I might prompt you to, like, do a carousel that are these specific images. You are going to find those images way faster than I would be able to,
Right.
because I don't know your back end. Like, I don't, no matter how organized it is, it's like
Right.
I didn't photograph that wedding or whatever. So
Right.
I don't know
Right.
that, period, like, point blank. That's what it is. And same with, like, videos. It's like, where that is in your camera roll.
Right.
I don't know where that is in your camera
Right.
roll. So it speeds, like, that's where the cost gets cut down as well, is it's like, you don't have to pay me for that time that I'm,
Right.
like, shuffling through your stuff, which
Right.
could take a while. You just
Right.
know where it is. You could just
Right.
find it and post it. And, like, that saves you time and
Totally.
money, and it saves
Yeah.
me time and
And it
money.
comes right, and it comes with, like, the captions and all of that stuff, and also that's, like, a plug and play here and there because it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're giving an outline and perhaps a hook or just an outline of a way in which it's going to help the post perform.
Yeah.
But there are these pieces where they can insert their own voice and their story from their perspective. And that's something that also cuts down the cost because part of
Yeah.
our job, if you are doing social media management, done for you social media management for somebody else,
Yeah.
is that you are also like taking all this time to like really understand them
Like,
and where they came
all of a
from
sudden
and what they're
you're
doing now
a
and where they're
personal
going.
trainer.
Yes, you're learning their entire history because it's important
Yeah.
to be able to tell those stories and to be able to communicate the direction that the brand is going in. But the person on the other end knows that stuff. They can speak from their own experience.
Yes. And, like, what happens with, like, when you just completely are hands off? I keep saying completely hands off because I understand that there's nuance, and some people have a social media manager and are hands on and it's working really well. And that's fantastic. But if you want to be completely hands off, how is someone who's not a licensed physician, not a licensed personal trainer, not a licensed esthetician or whatever it is, how are they ever going to know the nuances of your business that make the difference? Because you don't want your content to be Googleable.
Right.
You don't want it to be so surface level that, like, anyone can find it on Google. And if you're having your social media manager do that for you, it's going to be found on Google
Right.
or ChatGPT,
Right.
because how would they know?
Right.
So I think it's just important to, like, the content that's going to perform well and do the best for your business is going to have, like, your knowledge and your voice. That's what's going to make it stand out from everyone else's.
Totally. And I will say, like, the accounts that I do run that are full social media management accounts,
Yeah.
I do love those accounts. And I will say that those clients they all work with me in more of like a partnership way.
Yes. They're
It
not
doesn't
hands
mean,
off. They're not
right.
like
Right.
I'm not even gonna see it until
Right.
it goes live.
And I'm doing the majority of the heavy lifting for sure. And I'm doing the majority of like the time consuming pieces. And I'm planning things out from a standpoint of somebody who has a lot of experience.
Yes.
But they are still giving me content from their point of view.
Yes.
They're still giving me, photo and video. I'm telling them what I need. I need videos of this.
Yeah.
Try looking at the camera when you do this, blah, blah, blah. But I am not just taking random photos and videos in a camera roll that's been sitting there for months and like posting it. It's a
Yeah.
very like interactive
And that's why
process.
your clients like do really well. Like they perform well, they grow well, they get new clients, like
Yeah, because
all
it's
of
them
that.
and me.
Both of you together. Yeah, that's the account husband PSA that we do full management for still. Um that is why that account is so successful, is because they have me there to watch for trends, to create really good memes, to create really great community building type content.
Yeah,
And then Isaac still shows up, the owner of the account still shows up and creates really engaging reels that like I don't even tell him to do that. He does that.
right.
Like he's a content creator, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
But like it's the combination of the two of us working together
right.
that that's
Uh,
made it so successful.
right.
And it's also the fact that like when he can't post, there's still consistency going on his page.
Right.
Like regardless, period, all the time,
Totally.
even if he's on vacation. And then when he's not on vacation,
Right.
he can put in that little extra or whatever. So yeah, and that's the difference between an account that like grows massively. I
Yeah.
mean, you're also part of that with the community,
It's so
and
fun.
that account has gone from 15K to
Yeah, you've done amazing.
115K.
I'm shook.
It's you too. Cass does all the commenting on like other people's content, and she
Literally.
literally is so good at it. It's psychotic. Sometimes they will get like 50,000 likes on a comment.
Honestly, it's so fun.
It's crazy.
It's just me
You're
scrolling
so
social
good at
media,
it.
but with like a purpose.
You're
Like
so
I'm just
good.
scrolling, and then I'm like, do, do, do. And then I scroll. And I'm
Like-
like, ha ha ha, this is funny. And Brenda's like, you're not working. And I'm like, no, I am working. I am working.
It's crazy though, like to see a comment get that many likes, because people are fighting for that many likes on a post. And like
right.
a comment, that is crazy. And anytime you're gone and I have to do it, I might never get any likes. I'm like, oh.
That's a lie. But yeah, you've done a really good job with that account.
But yeah, that's back to the main point. It's because of the collaboration, and that's how like social media management cannot be dead.
Right. And also, sorry, one more small plug. Another way to not make your social media management your social media dead, show up on your stories. Listen, if you have a full social media manager, you have to be in your stories or I will kill you.
Oh, murder, kill, all the bad
bury you in a ditch. You have to be on your stories. Like I plan stories for my clients because there are certain things that take a little bit of planning. For example, if I'm doing some kind of like poll, I want to engage in the community in a certain way, or I want to post something about an offer that they have. That's the kind of stuff that I can plan.
Yeah.
Other things like what you're doing in a day, a frustration you had, a victory you had. I don't know that stuff. I wasn't with you. I don't know.
No, that is honestly like, if you do want to outsource your social media, like entirely, just completely hands off, like we've been talking about, at least show up on your stories.
Yes.
Or else like prepare to tank. Like you just
prepare to tank.
For real though. Like if all of a sudden you're just like, bye from
the
your
drama of us.
And everything is like Canva designed after that point.
Right.
That's like,
goodbye.
It's just literally like, it's not going to work.
Yeah. It's, and social media managers that are listening to this, I would say like, communicate that with your clients.
Mm-hmm.
Like communicate that that's like a necessary part of your collaboration together. Is that, or even if they're just like, I don't want to ever look at my social media again, communicate that piece for sure. That like, okay, like, you know, if you do want it to be that way, these are the the results that you might see,
Yeah.
I would suggest that you're on your stories every day. And yes, I can supplement some of that, but for the most part, stories need to be driven by you.
Yeah.
And even if you're not going to have a piece in any of the content on your feed, which like we were saying, we would never recommend,
Yeah.
the very minimum you need to be in your stories.
In your stories. That's like
Yes.
minimum.
Yes.
Please, 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 please,
Yeah.
please.
Anyway,
I love that.
I
Oh my
don't.
gosh.
My hand is like shaking from holding this.
It's probably so heavy. I'm
And
sorry. Mine's on
also,
this
I
arm.
haven't looked at this camera once. I've just been like staring into your eyes. So I'm like,
Who cares?
who knows?
That's okay. This was such a fun episode. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
I loved having you.
Thank you so much. It was a blast.
We did it.
Hi, Jaden's followers. Tell me if I
Oh,
said
yeah.
something crazy because I won't know.
Everyone also, I'll link you in the show notes, but
Great.
I'll put like your info in there. Are you still doing your close friends group?
No.
No. Okay.
It's
Never mind,
retired for
guys.
now.
Retired for now, which is
Yeah.
totally fine. But when it comes
We'll
back,
see.
you'll just have to follow her to
Yeah.
see when she
At
comes.
Cassandra Skyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slay. Bye, everyone.
Slay. Bye.
First, I want to say thank you so much for being here and listening to my podcast. It means the world to me, and I just appreciate this community more than you could ever know. If you love this episode or a previous episode that you've listened to, go ahead and head to the leave a review link in the show notes and leave us a review. We would really appreciate it. And we're so glad that you're here. Thank you.